Hello, welcome into another episode of the Broncos Europe podcast. We're recording live here over the internet, of course, with my co-host, Mr. Kieran Morley. How are you doing, Kieran?
Good evening, Mark. Yeah, great, and nice to have Tom with us for the first time. So, Tom,
He's making his debut.
yeah,
Hi guys, debut today. Looking forward to it.
and what a
So
fresh.
Tom, for those who don't know, he's from the rough side of the north up here. He's from good old Leeds, aren't you, Tom?
I wouldn't call it rough necessarily. I'd call it the drier part of the north compared to where you're from.
Yeah, very true. It's very, very true. A little bit of a rivalry going on here for those not in the know. And of course, you may notice we've got a special guest sat here right next to us, giving us a little wave there. He is actually 7 times intramural flag football champion himself. Mr. Mileheim Mario joins us for all things draft day. How are you getting on, Mario?
I'm doing fantastic. I always enjoy joining you guys, but I always think it's weird that you have me on your show, especially to like ask me about things that are going to happen because like you guys are 7 hours in the future. So like I don't know why you're asking me what you think that we're going to do. You guys will know 6-7 hours before anybody in America. So I guess I'll give it my shot, but I hope you guys are all enjoying the future. And we're in a bit of a sticky wicket, as you might say, here in America. Things are not great overall. So hopefully the future holds something maybe a little bit better. But once things start to turn around, let me know. And then I'll know 6-7 hours sooner than anybody else here.
100%.
I love that. He's absolutely right. Now, the last time you were on, we were talking all things London. And you were excited to come over the pond and join us in London for an absolute barnstormer of a game that everyone got to witness. How was your time in London? We've not spoken to you since on the pod, so just wondering how your time in London was.
Well, yeah, London was fantastic. So I got out there a couple days early. A buddy of mine had brought me out, and he's real bougie and ostentatious. Not like me. I'm much more mellow and withdrawn and reserved. The first night that we were there, he had gotten us reservations at this like really swanky restaurant and invited a couple of other people that I didn't know. And long story short, they're bringing out all this food. There's entertainment in front of us. Like it kind of looked like a strip club, but it wasn't. They had a stage in the middle of the restaurant, and the most beautiful human beings that you've ever seen, men and women, were just performing. Some were dancing, some were doing like some Cirque du Soleil stuff. Some were singing, and as they're bringing out the food and I'm kind of looking at the menu, I'm thinking to myself like, I might have to dine and dash here. This is looking like it's going to be several $1,000s worth of a ticket. And I turned to my buddy. I was like, why'd you bring me? I'm like, I'm not trying to pay this much money for food. And apparently one of the people that he had invited was some sort of oil person from Saudi Arabia. And he's like, oh, don't worry, this guy's got it. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I mean, just expecting him to pay for everything. And he goes, yeah, he's like that. He's like, this would be like $20 to me and you. So long story short, we're there for a couple of hours. A different part of this restaurant turns into a nightclub once you hit 10 o'clock, 10:30. They got bottle service. The champagne that this guy had ordered was covered in like had solid gold casing on it. And so I was over at my buddy and I'm like, how much is this bottle of champagne? And he's like Googling it. He's like, oh my gosh, this thing's $12,000. Like, oh, we better leave before anything is expected of us to pay. And so thankfully it was a free night for us and it was really enjoyable. And I totally remember all of it. And I'd love to say that was the highlight, but the highlight truly was meeting you gentlemen while I was waiting in line 2 hours for a pregame beer.
That line gives us some memories there, doesn't it, Tom? I know you would join that line at some point.
But that line was still more exciting than the game.
But what a contrasting experience that, isn't it, from your Thursday night, your Friday night, Mario, when you got across and you watching dancers in front of you and talking food to. Did you even get a pint before you left? Did you get one? You didn't.
I did not. And in fact, the keg had been tapped 2 people before me, and that was when they closed it up. And I crashed out, man. I had a straight up breakdown. And thankfully, some kind citizen of Broncos country came up to me and handed me his bottle of Jack Daniels.
I remember that.
He's like, hey, I saw that, you ran out of beer right before you got one. Like, here, I was like, to keep? He said, not to keep, just take a drink. So I took a nice big swig of that, and it got me going to, get me through that, as you said, Mark, barn burner of a game.
It might have been one of the worst games that could have been brought over the pond. But hey, we got to see a Broncos win, of course. No matter how it comes, everyone had a good day that day. So, yeah. Tom, just give us your thoughts on that London game as well. We'll digress a little bit and talk draft in just a second. But because you're new here, let's talk about your memories from that game.
I've tried to erase that game from my memory as much as I can. A win's a win, and I'm not going to digress any further than that, really. I mean, I'm just happy to have got away from that game. That was probably more of a defensive masterclass. That's what I'm trying to give it, more than an offensive disaster. Both teams on defense balled out, absolutely. It was good to see, PS2 doing his thing, as we know he does. D-line showed up, linebackers, probably one of their better games, I'd say, especially Singleton. The Jets just jetted, didn't they? I mean, you expect to go into that game against a team like that and just put 40 points on them. You're sitting there and you're waiting for Broncos to do something, and I was sitting there like, come on, Bo Nix, let's go score some points, let's get Sutton involved, let's throw the ball to Engram, and we were just sitting there like, what is going on? And it was just a frustrating game to watch. Fortunately for me, I was in the corporate bit, so I got a padded seat, I got bonus food.
You're just big time
for anything like that. So that was the saving grace for me, was the fact that I had corporate seating to suffer through that game. But yeah, it's definitely one to forget about.
You see, you were down there hobnobbing around in corporate, and I had to sit next to Kieran for 3 hours.
Up in the gods, KFC for dinner. Like, we just lived a different life to these two, haven't we, Mark? That's the problem.
We definitely did.
Bougie. That word can't be used describing us at all.
I think the best part of it was probably, as Mario said, the pre-game we were all at the pub. Broncos Europe showed out. Broncos Country showed out. To meet so many fans from across the pond on the other end, because I know that's what they call us. Speak to so many Americans. Find out why they support Denver, why we support Denver. It was just a massive community feel, and you could tell we've got such a great fan base and how lucky we are to have the fans that we do. And I think that was probably the best part of the weekend for me.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. Right, shall we move on to something a little bit more topical? We'll move on to draft day. It kicks off in around 7 hours' time here in the UK. Obviously, we're in the future, according to Mario, so we will be relaying the picks to him for him to bet on it and win us a lot of money. That's how it's going to work. Mario, any big surprises going to come in day one of the draft? Obviously, the Broncos aren't picking. Well, as of yet, we're not picking. We traded our pick away for Jalen Waddle, which was an absolute mastermind of a move. But any big moves coming around the rest of round one?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really exciting first round of the draft. So I think if you're a football fan and you're a fan of the draft and a fan of the Denver Broncos, it'll be a good watching experience. I think that we're going to see a lot of trades. I think there are a lot of teams who are picking early who would like to kind of stockpile more picks, like the Tennessee Titans, the Arizona Cardinals. I know they've been kind of linked to trading back, adding more picks. When you're as bad as they are, it's like, yeah, it's great that you have the 3rd and 4th overall pick, but you need way more than just one guy, right? Way more than just one player. I think Dallas is going to try to be really aggressive to move up. I think we could see a situation where maybe they're bumping up and maybe even trading George Pickens, and they have a pretty solid roster turnover. I'm also interested to see, as a Broncos fan, what our division rivals are going to do. Pretty clear the Raiders are going to take Mendoza. I think that's kind of been set in stone for months. The Chiefs are really interesting. It's like, obviously we're rooting for them to completely whiff like they did last year. And they inevitably drafted a guy who, had mental problems and, was in trouble. Like color me shocked that's the kind of guy that fits the Chiefs billing. I mean, every other player that they have has been arrested in the past before. And so, anybody trying to figure out what the Chiefs are trying to do at 9, look at the criminal records of the guys that are coming out. And if any of them have been arrested for anything, there's a really good chance that they're going to end up in Kansas City. And honestly, like the most interested I'm in, the team I'm most interested in watching in terms of AFC West is the Chargers. Like they've had a big kind of changing of the guard. So they lost Minter, their defensive coordinator, who did such a phenomenal job, Mike McDaniel. And so it's interesting with that Harbaugh McDaniel dynamic is going to give us. We know that Harbaugh wants to pound the rock. He wants to run the ball. He just played like that old school smash mouth offense. And that's not what Mike McDaniel typically has wanted to do, especially when he was in Miami. It's been more that, that high power aerial attack, getting his running backs into space. So it'll be interesting to see how those two are able to mesh and how their draft pick is going to kind of like affect the direction that they go. Typically with that Mike McDaniel offense, you really need like a burner at receiver. And the Chargers don't have that. So I would think, even though it's not necessarily a need, maybe if you were to see that out of the Chargers, that's kind of like Mike McDaniel putting his fingerprints on this team. And so those are the things that I'm kind of interested in looking into. And then I'm also a fantasy dynasty player. If you guys don't do it, it is so much fun because you're basically a GM and you're drafting rookies every year. So every year at this time, like, I'm obviously really interested in who the Broncos are taking, but I'm really interested to see who, these skill position players go to since I've been scouting them for like the last several months, and then seeing where I'm going to take them in my fantasy draft.
Yeah, we have a league going on. I'll tell you, some of us play it, some of us don't. I may as well not play it because I'm terrible each and every year. You've got a little wry smile on your face there, Kieran and Tom.
No, just seasoned pros now, Mark. That's all. You do a service to the league by propping it up. So everybody needs somebody like you. But yeah, we play at Mario. We're the same. It comes around to this time of year. People are already chatting right when we're doing the rookie draft, and you do it. Obviously, you follow it as a sport, as a fan anyway. You're checking where everybody's going, how teams are strengthening, but it adds that different dimension, doesn't it? When you sort of go, yeah, but I get some benefit out of this as well if they go somewhere good. Who have I got my eye on? So, yeah, it is. I think that's the best bit about the draft as well. When especially the later round picks and stuff, you're delving into it with other teams, Mario, trying to pick those sleepers, those diamonds in the rough, and and I'm guessing, Mario, man of your caliber, top champion, where have you fared the last couple of? I'm guessing you're in more than one league, but
yeah. So I have the one dynasty league. That's the one that I like really care about, right? Like we all have multiple fantasy football leagues that we do because 1, 2, 3, it's not enough. At one point in my life, I had 12, and I was like, my life has gotten completely out of control. I've lost all control of my life. So I'm down to 4 right now, which is a good number. This past year I did not win, but Romy Bean beat me in the championship. And so if I'm going to lose to anybody, I would love for it to be the best part of Denver sports and Romy Bean over at CBS4. But the 2 years before that, I did win the championship. And so I think it was someone else's turn, but I'll go ahead and win it this next upcoming year, reclaim my rightful place. Yeah.
I think this is the right time to announce as well. I've made a big trade coming into the season. I have actually got Mario on board to draft my new team. So he signed a 1-year contract with me to
I will be Mark's assistant GM this upcoming year. Yeah.
Don't worry, Mark.
Excited at the opportunity.
I've signed Romy Bean, so we're good.
That's fine. I'll get George Payton, so we're all good.
Yeah. Once I come out of this works. Yeah. Well, yeah. Always at the bottom. I know my place. So obviously, Broncos aren't picking today because we traded away the first and the third round pick for wide receiver Jalen Waddle. Like myself and Kieran spoke about last time, we're massive fans of the move just to get that high-powered offensive piece that we were really missing, I think, last year. Tom, give us your thoughts on Jalen Waddle and how he sort of improves the Broncos offense.
I think I made it clear in our Broncos Europe group chat how I felt about trading for a playmaker this year and making a big splash in the market. Originally, I thought that was going to be AJ Brown, and I was pushing towards that way. I never imagined we'd get someone of the Waddle caliber. From what I heard, he was sort of off the market. Miami weren't wanting to move him, and they eventually did move him. And my thoughts around that was, well, Broncos are picking what, 30th, I think we were. What we're going to get at pick 30 that can make a difference in this team on offense? Probably nothing. So let's trade that pick and go out there and get someone who can make a difference. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting at pick 30, probably get a linebacker, and he's probably going to sit for a year, and we're not going to be happy about it. But a lot of Broncos fans probably would have been because we're like, oh, we've added some depth. But for me, I just thought, let's just get rid of the pick, let's go after someone good. And when the news broke that we got Waddle, I was like, yes, this is the guy we need to finish this offense. Last year, something just didn't click with the Broncos in offense. I think at the start of the season, it was slow. We weren't putting the points on the board. And it was frustrating to watch, and we could all see it. And we were like, trusting Bo, trusting Sean, but there's clearly a piece of the puzzle missing. And now we've got Jalen Waddle. I feel like that puzzle is now complete. So that's where I am at with it, to be honest.
I think that's spot on. And the group chat was going wild when that news came in. I couldn't quite believe when that we did trade those picks away for him and get the player I've been wanting all off season. I was a big advocate for bringing in Jalen Waddle. Mario, how was the reaction over in Denver when Waddle gets announced to join the team?
The vast majority of fans were excited, and the fans that don't know ball were mad because they thought that we gave up too much for Jalen Waddle. And honestly, I would say it was like a 90-10 split. Like 90% of fans understand football at least at a rudimentary level to know that basically trading the 30th pick, or like if you go based on the values, what they had given up between the first and the third, and then swapping fourth round picks with Miami, equated to the 25th overall pick, based on the numbers and based on the values that they do. That's an incredible value. For every reason that was just said, is he's exactly what this team needs. He's a true route runner. He can get open. He can beat man coverage. He can beat zone coverage. He takes attention off of Cortland Sutton. And not only is he going to get his, but he's going to open up the entire offense. And to anybody that had a problem with it, my approach with draft picks, especially first round draft picks, is if you are in the position that the Broncos are in, where you're drafting 30th, you're almost there to the second round, the value is so different, because are you going to trade for a Jalen Waddle where it's like, that's what you're going to get? Or are you going to draft somebody hoping that he's remotely as good as Jalen Waddle? Draft picks, in my opinion, are like buying a brand new car. The moment that you drive it off of the lot, it depreciates in value. So if you look back at last year's first round, at all 32 players that were taken, and we're exactly 1 year removed from that, right? How many players from the first round that were taken in the first round last year would a team say, I'll give you a first round pick right now for that guy? Maybe a couple. So that's my thing. The notion of having a first round pick is typically more value than the player that ends up getting selected. Now, obviously, that's not always the case. It's like with one of our first round picks, we took Bo Nix, and Bo Nix was who, was able to revitalize this franchise. By and large, every single year, you look across all 32 picks, and you could probably argue that about 25, 26 of them don't pan out, and they don't live up to that first round hype. And so there's always so much more value put on the pick itself than the actual player that gets selected. So for them to take the 30th pick, where, maybe there's slim pickings, if they're looking strictly wide receiver, and like as much as I've studied like what's going to happen in the first round, there's no wide receiver that was going to fall to them at 30 who would give you the production that Jalen Waddle is going to give you, especially in these next 2 years. And I think that's the key. This is their window right now. Their definitive window is wide open as long as Bo Nix is on his rookie deal. Now, obviously, they're probably going to extend him either next year or the year after that. And you're going to have to work a little bit harder to fill out your team, because so much of that salary is going to go to Bo Nix. But this is exactly the time that you go out and you get a Jalen Waddle, because you're not paying anything for quarterback right now. This is them pushing their chips all on the table. And even theoretically, had they drafted a guy who someday will be as good as Jalen Waddle, he won't be on day one. For this upcoming 2026 season, he's not going to give you what Jalen Waddle will give you. And he's not going to give you in 2027 what Jalen Waddle would give you. And this is the window that we're talking about. And so, just to reiterate, all of the moderately educated fans enjoyed this pick and they enjoyed this trade and they knew it was the right thing to do. Only a very small percentage of uneducated Bronco fans threw a fit over the fact that they thought they gave up too much for who can possibly be a top 10 wide receiver in this league.
Just to jump in, Mario, obviously you've touched on it there with the window, and we discussed it last week in quite a bit of depth, Mark, but similar thing, we were discussing the window, Mario, this is it. Do you feel like that's been firmed up by the club themselves, by the business they've done over the summer in terms of free agency, re-signing, keeping the band back together, as we were calling it last week, getting the band back together? It's been, outside of the Waddle deal, quite a, I don't know, as the media might play it, a bit of an unremarkable off-season, but we were chatting about it and delving into it. It's clever business for us. We feel like, what we achieved last year, and that playoff game is a different one if Bo Nix is fit and healthy. I think we will address that that Patriots game. But the feel from the Broncos must be that this is the group of players, with the additions they'll make through the draft, adding Jalen Waddle, but the core of these are the ones who can get us this job done in the next, like you say, maybe it's a couple of years, or whatever this window pans out to be.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I'm going to say this. I wasn't a huge fan of how they handled free agency. Like, I'm all for bringing the band back together. Like, I understand this was the team that took you to the AFC Championship game. You were a Bo Nix injury away from going to the Super Bowl and potentially winning the Super Bowl. So by that logic, I do understand. But I also know that they had very strict price points on a lot of these players. Travis Etienne or HN or however he wants people to pronounce his last name now. Devin Lloyd, I know that they were all in on. And then he just kind of priced himself out. There were a few other players that they were interested in, and it just reached a price point that they weren't willing to pay. So on one end, I do understand, because like I said, you're going to have to extend Bo Nix at some point. So you have to be a little bit stingy. Like you can't do what the Raiders did and just throw insane gobs of money. Because that's the only way that you can convince guys to actually play in Las Vegas, is to give them a huge overpay, right? The Broncos don't need to do that, and they don't want to settle for that, and they also want to be strategic going forward. And so I think the problem with a lot of fans, myself included, is we look through it through this myopic lens of, what are we going to do this upcoming year? I want this free agent for the season of 2026, but we're not looking forward to, like, okay, once Bo Nix gets paid, do you pay Riley Moss? You have a lot of other free agents that you're going to have to worry about. Are you going to retain them? Like, obviously, after you extend Bo Nix, you're going to have less money to play around with. And so the fact that they're tightening their purse strings a little bit in free agency, that's okay to me. Even though I wasn't like a huge fan, I would have loved to see upgrades at, the linebacker position, at the tight end position, at the running back position. But at the same time, guys, let's not forget, last year after the draft, they went out and signed J.K. Dobbins, who was a massive part of their offense until he got hurt. So even though free agency, like, we kind of consider it over because we see it as like, okay, free agency, draft, preseason, season. Free agency never really closes, right? And so I think that there will also be players that get signed depending on how the draft goes. I think Cameron Jordan is an inevitability for a one-year deal. I think maybe someone like David Njoku could be a possible add depending on how the draft falls at the tight end position. And if they're not able to add, like, just like a big running back, because this was part of the problem last year after Dobbins went down. They just had small, fast, slender guys who weren't great at running between the tackles, weren't great at running through contact. And so if they don't address that in the draft, you could be looking at like a Najee Harris type. So I think it's important to remember that, even though it was a little bit of a boring free agency aside from the Jalen Waddle trade, it's not technically over. And I think that they're in a good position. They're going to see how the draft falls to them. They're going to see, what they walk away from. And then they can maybe address not even holes necessarily, but depth issues that they have at a few of these positions, like inside linebacker, tight end, interior D-line, and running back.
Yeah, I think you're right. The free agency doesn't end, but I had Cameron Jordan down joining us pretty much a couple of days after the draft. I can see him being a huge addition, sort of just a 1 year deal. He'll have to change position more than likely and come in on the interior of the D line. But I'm sure he's got the ability and the skills to do that. But I definitely had him down as one to watch. Before we move on to our mock draft round 2, where me and Kieran will sort of take a back seat, we'll be in the back rows of this war room, and we'll let yourself, Mario, and Tom take the reins to draft all 7 rounds for the Broncos. I just
Tom, I'll do the first round, Tom.
I'll do the second.
Tom's got his plan. Tom has his plan. He was discussing this beforehand. He knows what he wants. We must say there are no trades in our mock draft. We're not doing it. It gets too confusing for me. My little brain can't get my head around them all and how much they're worth. So just before we do that, we're going to ask each week our guest from Denver 3 questions and see who comes out on top, who gets the most right. Obviously, it's draft day, so we've got a little draft theme for you here, Mario. Now, I must say, Kieran has forbidden me to ask him any questions, so he's refusing to answer any, aren't you, Kieran?
Well, it's because I probably won't be able to answer them, Mark. I've got the brain capacity of a 3-year-old, so...
Yeah, that's very true. I can't argue that. It's fair. We'll move on. We'll go with question 1 straight in. So obviously, I'll flash it up on the screen here. So we'll start off with true or false. The Broncos drafted Demaryius Thomas and Tim Tebow in the same round. Easy one for you to start with, Mario.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely true. DT was taking a couple of picks before Tim Tebow, yeah. In fact, DT was taken before, oh my gosh, I'm spacing it, Des Bryant. And so DT was actually a holdout that year because his agent was waiting for Des Bryant to sign his rookie contract and then also Tim Tebow to sign his rookie contract because his negotiating was going to say, well, DT was taken before these guys, so he deserves more money. It's a little fun fact for you.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad I've asked you instead of you, Kieran, because I wouldn't have got that tidbit, would we?
I had that on the edge of me. I was ready to pounce for that one, Mark. But bonus point, I think, there as well. You know, like A++, Mario, question 1.
I don't want to jump the gun here. Are these just questions for me? Am I the only one on the hot seat?
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Fantastic.
You are. Of course you are.
Good thing I put my smart people glasses on.
Right, question 2. Here we go. How many times, it's another easy one, how many times have the Broncos held the number 1 pick in the NFL draft?
Never.
Very true.
Never.
We're one of how many franchises?
People will tell you, I think, 3 or 4 franchises have never picked 1 overall?
3. I think it was 3.
And people will think that John Elway was drafted by the Broncos, and of course he wasn't. He was drafted by the Baltimore Colts. He threatened to go play baseball, and the Colts made a trade that sent John Elway to Denver, and that is why Baltimore and also the Indianapolis Colts franchise despise him to this day.
Was that on the tip of your tongue again, Kieran?
This leaderboard, just put Mario at the top and don't ask anybody else. You're not going to get this level of, it's just one of them.
It's like he's swallowed an encyclopedia of NFL knowledge.
What you don't know
I was going
is
to say, we've got a question left though still, haven't we? So hang on.
Yeah, let's not jump the gun.
Question 3. Oh, yeah. In what round of the NFL draft did the Broncos select Danny Trevathan?
Oh, man. I want to say it was the 5th or 6th round, but I'm going to say 5th.
I'll take it back.
You're so close. You spoke too soon, Tom. You spoke too soon. You jinxed
me. This is all Tom's fault.
He should have gone higher, to be fair. He should have gone higher.
He was drafted in the 6th round.
See, I should have. I was half right.
You were. Well, shall we give him a half a point?
Well, he's got to get half a point at least. It's the added knowledge that we got through that, Mark. I've learned numerous things in these 3 questions, so there you go. But
you know what? Since we're doing this, I know Danny Trevathan, I'm pretty sure, went to Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. And his running mate, Brandon Marshall, who a lot of people confuse with the wide receiver Brandon Marshall, to the point where, like, Brandon Marshall, the receiver, was playing an NFL game. People would tweet Brandon Marshall, the linebacker, during the game because he had gotten hurt or he was struggling or whatever. And the linebacker, Brandon Marshall, was responding to them. And people are like, you should be playing a game right now. Why aren't you playing? Why are you tweeting? And he just kept going back and forth. But like, fun fact about Brandon Marshall. I know we were talking about Danny Trevathan, but Brandon's a good friend of mine. And so any opportunity I have to gas him up, I do. He was originally a part of the Jacksonville Jaguars organization. Broncos signed him, and he was a scout team guy, right? Practice squad linebacker. The reason that Brandon Marshall ended up getting added to the active roster and eventually became a starting linebacker for that Super Bowl team is because he was so unbelievably good in practice against Peyton Manning. Peyton went to the coaching staff and said, who is this guy? He's killing us. He knows exactly what I'm doing before I do it. Like, we need to get him a spot on the roster. And the rest is history.
Yes.
So good. So, you know, these little pieces of info, we never get this. We would never get this anywhere else. And you know what? We're going to go into our little WhatsApp group now, and we're going to play like we know everything. That's just going to go in.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Right, let's move on to the draft. Let me just share the screen. So obviously, Tom and Mario, you're going to play GMs here. Kieran, you stay very quiet on this.
No problem.
I'm just going to put it out there. I probably don't know the college players quite like Mario does. So I'm going to base this on what I think the Broncos need in the future.
Perfect.
So obviously, we're not doing it. Should go straight to the Broncos, but we'll start the draft. Can you all see that on the screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Here we go. So we're moving on through. We are using stick to the models. It's absolutely fantastic. New out this year. I know, Mario, you've used this before. 62 on the clock. You've got your picks on the right. Walk us through them. Talk of where you're going.
Tom, I'll just do like a quick little rundown, and then I'll just let you make the pick because it's too much pressure for me. So really quick, just based on what I'm looking at right here, if you follow Ben Albright on Twitter, every year he puts out like a little puzzle of who the Broncos are kind of targeting each round. Like he had actually, quote unquote, spoiled the Bo Nix pick with this cryptic tweet that he had sent out, and it, you know, he had letters that it spelled out it's Bo. And so the puzzle, long story short, the puzzle that he put out this year points to Josiah Trotter out of Missouri, the linebacker, freak athlete, really good, fills a need for this Broncos team. And really quick, just what I'm looking at, maybe Zachariah Branch would be an option had they not traded for Jalen Waddle. Same with Antonio Williams, but they're both kind of slot guys, a little bit more limited. I know that Eli Stowers is going to be a really popular name among Broncos country. I think the only problem that I have with that is like, Evan Ingram is still on the team, at least for now. And if they couldn't get Evan Ingram to work, I'm like just a little hesitant about how they'll get Eli Stowers to work. And there's even a discrepancy about what position people consider Stowers to be. Some people have him as, you know, a true tight end, an inline tight end. Some teams might even convert him to a slot wide receiver. And I think based on where he drops is kind of like going to be a tip off to how teams consider him. And so his blocking is a little bit of a problem for me. Obviously a really, really talented pass catcher. And so I guess the question is like, if you're taking Stowers, are you okay with an inline tight end, much like Evan Ingram, who you're not going to ask to block, but can maybe open up the middle of the field? And then the other name that I actually really, really like on this list, these are all kind of viable options outside of the wide receiver. Keelan Rutledge is an absolute mauler. I mean, this dude is nasty. He's a monster. He's actually like very similar to the type of player Quinn Miners is. And I know a lot of people kind of had maybe the Broncos releasing Ben Powers this past offseason or even restructuring. I think they're going to get at least one more year with Ben Powers. Keelan Rutledge would be a fantastic upgrade, in my opinion, going into the 2027 season. And then Caleb Tiernan, really solid offensive lineman. Bowles, McGlinchey getting a little bit long in the tooth. Either of these guys would be, you know, options on the offensive line. And there's another one, Max Clare. To me personally, I would say Max Clare is a more well-rounded tight end. It might fit a little bit better what the Broncos want to do. And I'm glad that you scrolled down to Dominique Orange. I love Dominique Orange, A, because his nickname is Big Citrus, and B, his last name is Orange. He's got to be a Denver Bronco. Like it's written in the stars. And he can also fill that void that John Franklin Myers left. So there's a little quick
Yeah.
breakdown. And Tom, I'll leave it up to you.
I think, Mario, just to jump in, I know a little mock draft last week, Mark. We ended up taking Rutledge, didn't we, in that O-line? I think
I would love that pick.
I think
it's not going to be a sexy pick, but it's for like going forward in the future. It would be really similar to the Miners pick. Like when they took him, they didn't really need a guard. But then you look back at it and it's like, thank God that they took Quinn Miners.
I think just
in my eyes, he sets us up long term, doesn't he, with the position on the O-line. He's such a good player. I'd love to see them take
Rutledge. When we drafted last week, Mark, we ran it through. Trotter wasn't there as an option, and I think that might have been my gut just in that inside linebacker position, given how that's panned out in the close season and such. So, but yeah.
But we're not in charge, Kieran.
No, Tom is today. So come on, Tom.
Talk about pressure. So
don't blow it, Tom.
I understand the Josiah Trotter pick. I do get it. I am never a fan of taking linebackers this early. I'm just not. Same with running backs.
We're not in the first round, Tom. We're in the second round.
Yeah, but it's the second round. It's our first round, though, isn't it? It is our first round. Now, I like drafting for entertainment, and I would have loved to have got Jennings Dunker just because of the orange mullet, right? But he's gone. Houston took him, and I'm annoyed at that because that would have been sheer comedy value to have him on our team. He's like this year's Quinn Miners pick is Jennings Dunker. We saw the Quinn Miners video of him throwing tree logs around and smashing hammers through wood. Jennings Dunker running with that mullet is unbelievable, right? That would make everyone's happy and we would see millions of Jennings Dunker jerseys. And now Houston have took him. So I can't take him. I've identified I'm not going for right inside linebacker. And I know Broncos country are going to kill me for this because he probably is the better pick. I think we're going to go into the trenches. And I'm torn between the offensive line and the defensive line. And I do like Dominique Orange. And I do like Rutledge. We know Ben Powers could be on the way out next year, could be a contract casualty, obviously with Bo Nix restructuring. So it would be nice to get some fresh meat on the offensive line. You need to keep that strong. You need to, you could sit him for a year, get him on the back burner, ease him in. I'm never a fan of starting linemen early in the first year, so, that could work well. And then, as Mario said, you've got a guy called Dominique Orange. Why would you not want a guy called Orange playing for the Broncos? So I'm just going to go on pure comedy value, and I'm just going to go for Dominique Orange with the pick on defensive line. Only because as well, you two went for Rutledge.
You did it for comedic value, but joke's on you. That would be a really good pick.
Yeah, it would be a good pick. Because the others went for Rutledge last time, so I can't copy their draft. So it's got to be Orange, hasn't it?
How do you feel about that, Kieran? How do you feel about Orange?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't think we didn't get that far down. We didn't. I think we stayed around 68 picks, 6 picks in front, Mark, didn't we? I think we'd found the need last week.
Let's have fun today. Let's have fun. Let's not go serious. Let's have a bit of fun with this.
But look, as we've discussed before, last year me and Mark did a mock draft, and I think we got, as did probably most of the people predicting it, got nowhere near. And so it is always just a bit of fun, isn't it? Is what we're doing.
No one gets near. Whatever. I've seen thousands of drafts, and I don't think anyone has ever come close. Because you just don't know how the board's going to fall. You don't know how trades are going to happen. I mean, I think the Broncos are going to trade back personally. I know Sean likes to acquire picks, and I think we'll probably trade back maybe into the 70s or the 80s from 62. But we'll see what happens on the day. But if we stick at 62, I think it'll be someone in the trenches. I really do.
So we moved on to round 4? Are we in round 4? We're in round 4.
Yep.
I can't keep up with all this. We don't have a third round pick, do we? So go on, Mario, do your thing. Talk us through who's on the board, who's just gone. This is.
I'm sure you can see over where it says Denver on the AI model, it says Oscar Delp. I love Oscar Delp. He's exactly the kind of tight end that I would want. Proficient pass catcher. Georgia didn't really use him correctly this past year. And I think it was more of a result of they really wanted to run the ball. They wanted to get the ball to their wide receivers, didn't get great quarterback play to the standards of typical Georgia football. But Oscar Delp is a guy that can block. Oscar Delp is a guy that can catch the ball. He can do a little bit of everything. I think he has like 4.5 speed, if I'm not mistaken, like ran a really good 40, which I usually don't put too much stock into unless it's like unusually high or unusually low, right? So it was like Oscar Delp's 40 time was unusually fast for a tight end his size. So I love me some Oscar Delp. It would be, I don't think that he'll be here realistically, like in the 4th round. I think that he does go before that. So I think if it's me personally, I'm sprinting to the podium. If he's not there, Michael Trigg is kind of like a good option as well. But I'm more of a fan of Sam Roush out of Stanford if we're sticking with tight ends. A little bit more well-rounded, not quite the pass catcher that Michael Trigg is, but a really good athlete. And honestly, I'm at the point now where I need my tight ends to do a little bit of both. I've seen what Evan Ingram is again in this offense, and he fell short in terms of the pass catcher. And you're tipping your hand a lot when you have a guy like Evan Ingram in there, where it's like, yeah, you're more than likely not running the ball. It's a passing situation. So it's like that's what I'm looking for in my tight ends. Caleb Proctor is actually a really, really interesting name because he's from the small school of, Southeast Louisiana. He dominated. Exactly what you would want a guy who's going to be drafted to do at a small school. He was phenomenal. But again, there's not a lot of film on him against elite talent. But if they don't take a Dominique Orange or like a Grayson Halton as another guy that they could consider at 62 out of Oklahoma, kind of fill that John Franklin Myers void because they don't have anyone on the roster to like kind of fill that JFM void. If it's not Orange or Halton, I think Proctor would be a really good option. And then Emmett Johnson. I know Emmett Johnson is a really well-liked running back, and it's hard for me to like him because I don't like Nebraska. I went to CU, and when I was there, they were actual rivals. So if I'm not forced to root for a Nebraska Cornhusker, I'm psyched. And just like from a skill standpoint, I think he's a really good running back. I just don't think that he's the kind of running back that the Broncos need necessarily. And then the name that also jumps out to me here is Trey Zune III. I know it looks like they have him listed as a center. He's also a tackle. He could also play guard. So if the Broncos are looking to kind of shore up the offensive line, and we're sitting here in the 4th round, chances are you're not going to find like a career starter in the 4th round on the offensive line. You want to get a guy who can be a bit of a Swiss Army knife. And so Zune could project to be like a better version of Alex Palczewski, where he plays pretty much every position on that offensive line and starts as a really, really good depth piece if anybody goes down, and then maybe turns into a full-time starter if he develops correctly down the road. But some really good options here, and it's going to be a difficult choice for Tom to make. Glad I don't have to
know who's in charge of this draft. And Tom sits here as the resident Riley Moss hater. He's president of the fan club. Right? So Julian
That's racist, Tom.
What are you talking about? I'm surprised you didn't speak about Julian Neal. Like, we need a corner replacement.
He's going to come in and replace Riley Moss, isn't he, for you, Tom? We know that.
It's weird that, I was going to say something offensive. I'm just going to saddle it.
We're trading Riley Moss for an extra 6th-round pick, so that's what we're doing this year. Right.
Julian Neal is good, for what it's worth. Julian Neal is good, but
he's no Riley Moss, though. He's no Riley Moss.
You don't know that yet.
If they take a cornerback in this draft, I'm going to be so mad.
I could absolutely just troll Mario here. It'd be really hilarious.
Please, I'll crash out.
Oh, he's accidentally disconnected. So I know from here onwards, I think we've got the 108 and we've got the 111 pick, haven't we? Right. There's 2 tight ends on the board that Mario likes. Mario, which of the 2 tight ends that you've mentioned is more likely to fit Sean Payton's scheme and can block? Like, who can do the blocking as well as the receiving out of those 2?
It would be, in my opinion, Oscar Delp.
Right. Let's take Delp with this pick, and let's hope that Trey Zerne falls to the next pick for us.
Right, we're locking in Oscar Delp here.
Son of a bitch!
Damn them Bengals.
Cincinnati.
I've also always hated them.
Oh,
such as draft the agents.
It's a dumpster fire franchise as well.
And your boy Julian Neal's gone, Tom.
Why don't we redo that and take Zune first and then take Delp?
Well, you're assuming.
Can we run it back?
Yeah, we could run it back.
I think we can, actually. We could redo. Yeah, that's not how we play it.
Yeah, redo. We don't like that. We don't like what the Bengals did there. Super unrealistic. The Bengals would not make a good pick at this point. That would be a really good pick. Stick to the model. Very unrealistic.
With no redos. We didn't have any redos, did we, Kieran?
No.
No redos. We're being harsh.
But we also haven't had our job offer yet, Mark. So
we also had our Twitter ban. So either way,
we offended somebody with that draft, didn't we?
We did.
Can you scroll down a little bit so where I can't see Michael Trigg, but I can see Emmett Johnson? Right, Mario. There's an inside linebacker there, isn't there? Have we gone past him? Go.
Yeah, let's keep going. I want to take a look at these so I can kind of familiarize myself. Okay.
So because the ones that are left is tight end, we no longer need that. We don't need defensive linemen, and we don't need the wide receivers that are there. So I'm thinking we need to go probably offensive line or a linebacker at this point.
I agree with that. And here's the thing: like this is the good part about the draft. Like if the draft board falls this way, this is exactly, I think, where the Broncos would want to address offensive line, because there's not a lot of pressure on, fourth round picks and on to play the first year. And there's honestly, there's a lot of good options here. Like Zune, of course, would be my top pick, but if he's not there, Cage Casey, who I think was a tackle, and they're projecting him more as a guard, but the fact that he has that experience helps. I don't know how to pronounce Billy's last name. That's just a lot of weird letters kind of jumbled together. But I do know that he's a mauler. Like he's another really good player. Demetrius Crownover, big body, real physical, super athletic tackle out of A&M. And so, yeah, I think if you want to go inside linebacker, I would think Deontay Lawson, even though there's a kid named Ellerms Orr out of TCU that I think might go a little bit later, who I like way more than these guys here. Oh my gosh, yeah, Isaiah World, J.C. Davis, some more. Oh, there he is, Caleb Ellerms Orr. Well, they bumped up his ranking. Good for them. At this point, if they really want an inside linebacker, I feel like Ellerms Orr would be the pick, because he kind of fits the mold of what they need. But if they're willing to just kind of run it back one more year with Singleton and Strnad and not worry about addressing linebacker, then they probably wouldn't do it if they haven't done it at this point. So, Tom, I think that the decision is: are you going to go with an Ellerms Air at inside linebacker, or are we going to go?
Just be wary of that. Mark's put a filter on, so that they've grouped together ranked, I think, about where he would be. So I think it's grouped up because Mark's took a lot of the other positions out. He would still be available in the later round, or there's a more of a chance that he would be.
Could you take the filters off, please, Mark? Take the filters off, please. Let's have a look and see what's there.
There you go.
I think they've done another. This probably be another pick Denver could trade back from if there are linebackers further back that they have their eye on.
There's your cornerback. You could get your cornerback.
I will be permanently banned from Broncos groups if I choose a corner, so I can't do it for my own safety.
Well, I like Caton Allen. Caton Allen's a good option.
Yeah, but what's his ranking? Is that 136, and we're all picking 11.
Yeah.
But then obviously, Carson Beck's there. Let's go to the. Are we at the top? Yeah. Where are you?
Here we go, at the top now.
Yeah. Go down one, and again. Let's take Dante Lawson. Let's get the linebacker drafted, and then it's done.
Bring in.
And the reason that pick is he's a Bama boy, and we've got PS2, and we've got Jalen Waddle. So they're welcoming with open arms, and there's no better entourage to have than them two when you're coming into a team.
I like it. We definitely need inside linebacker depth, don't we? Even though
Mario's kept quiet on that pick, by the way.
Yeah, he didn't celebrate. The room was not celebrating, was it? No one was high-fiving.
It's fine that I said I really like Ellerms Orr, but that's okay.
Yeah, Tom just totally ignored the inside linebacker you wanted.
No, it's a good. I do like Deontay Lawson. I think he's he needs to play with a little bit better game speed. He needs to get off of his blocks a little bit better. But again, like if he's sitting this year, right, as a 4th round pick and he's learning, like he has the intangibles, and it's like when in doubt, draft someone from Alabama. When in doubt, draft someone from Georgia. When in doubt, draft someone from Ohio State. So yeah, it's a safe pick for sure. I think higher floor pick. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like to think then, Tom, Mario was on the phone to Ellen Orr saying, "Yeah, you're coming to Denver," and then you've just gone rogue.
I was in the other room calling him.
Yeah.
And I come back, I'm like, what I missed?
what I understand from like Sean's and George's press conference is they like to draft players with tools of the trade, because then they can coach that through. And if you've got a player that is sitting for a year but has the tangibles, as you say, to develop, they don't mind drafting players like that. So that for me would be if he's like that sort of player, that could be a perfect fit for Broncos really, and sitting behind Stannard and Singleton for the year. So yeah, I like it.
So what we're looking at now, and again we've gotten themselves. I used this term earlier, so I'm going to bring it back. We're in a bit of a sticky wicket here because we have not addressed the running back position. I think in real life they absolutely will, unless the board just does not fall their way. The way that I see it, it's funny that they have Eli Heidenreich as a running back. He's going to be a receiver. He's going to be kind of like an F. They just don't know where to put him because he did a little bit of everything. The 2 names that I really like at this point, I really like Keegan Trost. I think that's another guy. He's not being ranked highly enough. Really held his own in a very tough SEC. As an offensive tackle. And I really like Kalen Black. The thing I like about Kalen Black is there's not any like one thing that he does really, really well. He just does everything pretty well, like real solid. I don't want to compare him to Terrell Davis, but that's kind of how Terrell Davis was, right? Like coming out, it's not like Terrell Davis did like one thing and was incredible at it. He was just really good at everything. And so in terms of like a well-rounded running back, I really like Kalen Black. But if they're willing to wait, Adam Randall out of Clemson, I really like big dude, like goes to 235. Nothing real special about him except that he's just an absolute bruiser and he's a mauler and he's the kind of running back that I think this team needs. And then another running back that I would want to keep my eyes on is Chip Trayanum out of Toledo, I think is where he played last year. Just one of these physical freaks, like might not be a great like running back, but all of the physical traits are there. So it's like if he could figure out how to play the running back position, then I really like Chip. But it's one of those like low risk, high reward picks if you go in the 7th round. But right here, Tom, I mean, it seems like we would either have to address offensive line or running back. That's kind of where we need to shore up going forward. We've addressed the other needs, linebacker, defensive line, tight end. So depending on how much you like Kalen Black, or if you would just rather wait and see what's available with one of our 3 7th round picks, I think Trost is the way to go here, unless you're just a really big Kalen Black fan.
Yeah. My question is,
or go completely off script and do something that I didn't say.
Quarterback. Let's go quarterback. No,
quarterback have we got?
So I know when you get to these picks here now that we're in the late hundreds, how big is the jump from sort of like the defensive lineman that you get sort of in the 70s to where you're getting in the 170s compared to where you're getting running backs now to sort of at the back end of the draft? Do you know what I mean? Like how far is that dip?
The drop off, yeah.
Yeah. Is it big at this point, or can we say if we say, look, you get a defensive tackle at 170, it's not too far off getting an offensive tackle 50 picks earlier?
I mean, I think it just depends on like the individual player and the value. You know what I'm saying? When you start talking about like drafting offensive linemen, like in the 6th and 7th round, total dart throw. There's a decent chance that they don't even really make the team, and you're almost better off like going with an undrafted free agent. because then you can kind of pick and choose, exactly what direction that you want to go in. So I don't. That's a really hard question. That's a good question. It's a really hard question to answer because it depends on the individual player, right? Now, if you're asking me about this particular situation, like based on the mocks that I've done and the research that I've done, maybe I'm way too high on Keegan Trost. I think that, he's a 4th round talent at least. So if he's here at this point, then I think you got to swoop him up. And I think the drop off from this point to their next pick, like the drop off at tackle from Trost to like whoever you might get in the 7th round, is much more immense than the drop off between like a Kalen Black to an Adam Randall.
Yeah. So for me, I think that's answered the question here for who we're drafting. I think we are going to go for Keegan Trost, the offensive tackle, and it's Drew Ox College as well.
Shake hands, high fives.
Make the phone call. Make the phone call, Mario.
Call it in. Yeah, Keegan, you're a Bronco. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's so important though, is to try and value what you're getting at certain picks compared to other picks. Like running backs are notorious. You can always find gems at running back very late on in the draft. Whereas offensive tackles, late on in the draft, you really are swinging in the dark at offensive tackles late in the draft. So better to get them earlier than later, I think.
So we're at this point now, Mark. Yeah, I think we're running out of time in terms of what we've got left. So as it would be in the round 7 of the draft, clock's narrowing now. A little bit less time to make these picks, gents. The pressure is mounting in the war room. Mario, just keep your phone in your hand, ready to make the calls because they're going to come thick and fast now with all the picks we've got.
Mario, take a running back. Take a running back here.
Yeah, just pick who you like. I mean,
pick who you like.
Some people are higher. Some people are higher on Jam Miller. I think he's being mocked a little bit too late. I kind of already gave my spiel about Traynham. I think Noah Whittington's another one of these guys, like, doesn't necessarily excel at any one thing, but is just kind of like a well-rounded, solid running back. And Desmond Reed is pretty solid too. If I'm remembering correctly, he's kind of like a smaller guy though, like a.
I was going to ask that question, Mario. Which one do you think fits your wants and needs as a? And again, at this late pick, would you be getting it?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I think you're looking for athletes like guys who potentially have a really high ceiling. To me, that's Chip Traynham. He was one of Bruce Feldman's like top 100 freaks, or like that list that he points out of college football players. Really fast, really strong. And again, like maybe that doesn't translate to him being a good running back, but he's a freak athlete. And so at this point, you're just kind of betting on traits. So it would probably be between him or Jam Miller, because again, when in doubt, draft a player from Alabama.
Where are we going, Tom? Where are we going?
Let's go Chip. I like a bit of Chip in my draft.
It's another good pick. Obviously, the last 2 picks of the draft here, we'll speed through them.
Now here's something to consider. The Broncos at this point, because they have so many late 7th round picks, like they'll have the last 2 picks, which is so funny to see who Mr. Irrelevant will be. They might actually address like the backup quarterback position. Yeah. I know that they brought back Ellinger. And so maybe they kind of have a camp battle between Ellinger and a rookie, assuming that Stidham isn't here long term. In fact, I think if I know you want to trade Riley Moss, Tom. Stidham is probably the most likely player to get traded based on like what kind of value they could get for him as a quarterback. And especially if that happens, I think that they could be addressing the quarterback position. At this point, this is a little bit rough. I don't want Diego Pavia anywhere near my team. I'm kind of hoping that the kid, who is it, like, I'm spacing on his name now, the South Dakota State quarterback, who had a really good year. I think he might be gone. Don't show me Caden Salter. I had to watch him this past year. Absolutely terrible quarterback. If Cole Payton is there, I was spacing on his name, out of North Dakota State, Cole Payton, I would absolutely love. Taylon Green, the quarterback out of Arkansas. Again, like these guys are gone, but it's just like throwing out names for the sake of throwing out names. I don't love anybody here necessarily. Haynes King would probably be my pick if you really want to. But just looking at that list, like I shore up the offensive line, like Carmona would be a good pick. I don't really know a lot of these guys. I'm going to be honest. I didn't get quite this deep. And so, an edge rusher from LSU, like, probably can't go wrong doing that with Patrick Payton.
Yeah.
I do know about Eric Gentry. Like weirdly long arms, but he's like 5'10". But his arms are like freakishly long. Just a fun little bit. I don't know why I know that, and I don't even necessarily want to draft him, but that's just it's just a fun little fact. Tom, I have no idea here, Tom. Yeah, we can do whatever you want.
I think we go for safety at this point. I think, is it Brandon Jones is on his last year, our safety, next year? So I think
the one name that I know here is Xavier Nwamka. He had a phenomenal year like 2 seasons ago, and then the last couple of years he's struggled with Iowa. But really smart guy. He was a team captain, if I'm not mistaken. I think if you're able to somehow capture the lightning in a bottle that he gave you a couple of years ago, but he has been on a downward trajectory the last couple of seasons. And that's the only person that I know out of these guys.
I like defense from Iowa. So I know they produce some good players from Iowa.
Except for Riley Moss, apparently.
So we got a safety from Iowa. Do you know anything on Nwankpa? No, probably not.
That's all I know. Yeah.
Lock in the pick.
Let's draft Nwankpa. Because we are replacing one Iowa defensive back for another, so this makes sense.
Let me see the tight ends again really quick here. Because I've looked them over to death. Yeah, I don't. All the guys that I know are gone. Here's an interesting name. Seydou Traore, I think is how you pronounce it. He actually started at CU, which is why I'm somewhat familiar with him. He suffered from just god-awful quarterback play at Mississippi State. Like, he was routinely getting open, and he's a pretty solid option. The only thing is, like, he's a really, really poor man's Eli Stowers. Like, not much of a blocker. He's a little bit undersized for a tight end. But could potentially be like a Nate Adkins replacement, right? Like kind of that F receiver, where he's in the backfield a little bit. He would have to put on a little bit of weight, but aside from him, man, like I'm kind of running out of my draft prowess.
What about a fullback? Yes. The only one.
Well, did they extend Prentice? Didn't they give him like a 2-year contract?
Yeah, you can't have too many fullbacks on the roster. So
that would be fun, though. It would be fun to draft a fullback.
A 2 fullback type formation.
Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant.
If we're being serious, let's get the backup QB in. I think let's go QB and let's take. Who was the one you don't like? Was it Haynes King?
Now I don't want to tell you.
We'll take Diego Pavia.
Mario, you're doing the phone call.
I'm not. No, you can call him, Tom. So here's my thing on Pavia. Really good college quarterback. He could run. He's a good athlete. He's shorter than me. Okay, and I go to 5'10". That's the only problem. Now, what I will say about Pavia, like the way that he plays is fun, and he's a competitive dude. And I think like to have that fire in the locker room maybe will be beneficial. But what I honestly think is going to happen in real life, wherever Diego Pavia ends up, he will have one preseason game where he balls out and he looks really good. And everybody will be like, oh, see, Pavia can play. The height isn't a thing. Because he'll be doing it against like 5th and 6th string players. So that's just like my bold prediction with Pavia is that he'll have one really good game and then he's super arrogant and cocky. So then that's going to give him enough ammo to be like, I should be a starter in this league. That's my premonition for him.
I must say though, Kieran here, I think we had a better grade on our draft grade.
Well, I would say put them.
It's because of Pavia.
You think they're available.
So put them side by side on Twitter, Mark, but we can't. So here we go.
You just watch this draft. This draft, right, that Broncos are going to put together is going to mimic the one me and Mario have just put together.
It'll be the exact same.
I hope not.
Player for player.
We've run out of time anyway. We've overrun here. But, just a massive thank you, Mario, for joining us. We love having you on. You're a massive friend of the pod and the community. Whenever we can get you on, we always love to get you involved. And you champion us massively, and just thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Well, I love you guys. I love the work that you do. I wish that we didn't live so far away, but I do hope that you guys all plan a trip to the States, specifically to Denver, Colorado, and I'll take you out in the town. I'll take you somewhere where we don't have to wait 2.5 hours for a beer. It's going to be splendid. I love you all so much. Thank you for having me, and enjoy the future. I hope it's awesome.
Cheers, man.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, Mario.
We'll catch you all on the next one.
Right, Mark, I'm going to have